here from Harrington Classic Car Restorations. This is the AMD 68 Chevelle that we're working on. We call it the AMD Chevelle because all the parts are going to be AMD. So I'm going to go over this car on what is next because we have to remove this roof and these quarters. But we need to make sure we take some measurements from here to there. We need to take some measurements from there to here. And I also take measurements from here to here. So stay tuned for this one. Hey everybody, Kevin here from Harrington Classic Car Restorations. Tonight we are going to do the driver's side lead work. We're going to melt the lead out, but here's the tools you need. You get a propane torch. You can use a bigger torch if you want. This just has a little bit more control. Make sure you have your wire brush and a face shield. You can also use, because it is lead, a respirator. I'm not going to use a respirator tonight only because I'm going to be talking while I do that, although I might. Also, what you need, whether you're working on a car with no interior or a car with interior, make sure you have a blowgun or a fire extinguisher. Even better, have both of them. So stay tuned. Okay, as you guys saw in the last video, I did opt for the respirator. I don't want to breathe any of that lead toxins. And this is why I melt the lead out anyway, because there is rust under the lead. I don't know if you guys can see that through the camera or not. So there is rust under there. So if I wasn't changing the roof, I would definitely still melt the lead out and get that rust out of there. Okay? And again, like I said before, what I'm going to do is when I get the roof on and the quarter on, I'm going to weld this bead solid. I'm going to still do my spot welds, and I'm going to weld that solid, and I'm also going to make a patch from this top piece up here to that bottom piece there, so it's a nice solid piece of metal, so I don't have a lot of fiberglass. I won't need to use lead, and it'll be nice and slick. So stay tuned. We actually have the moldings, and as you can see, the moldings don't fit quite to the original panel, as you can see there. So they probably won't fit the new panels. But the reason I fit these first is I want to make sure that the moldings do fit around most of it. See, that fits pretty decent. That fits pretty decent there. But we got a kind of a gap there, and that's probably because of the molding. And it fits pretty decent all the way up around there. So all that fits pretty good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some measurements from here all the way up to there, and one from across here all the way across to here. And we're even going to cross measure it from here all the way to there on both sides, from down there all the way to there. This way we have our measurements when we put our roof on and our quarter panel on, so everything should line up correctly. We also plan on putting a brace from that edge there all the way to this edge over here to make sure our quarter panels stay square and they're not opening or closing. You don't want that one pushing out and this one pushing out, or that one coming in and this one going in. So we're going to keep that right where we need it, with a brace over there also. We're also putting braces in from this piece up here all the way to the trunk floor, and we're also going to put a brace from this piece all the way to here, so we don't have any forward and back motion. So that one's all set, already welded in, and we'll take this piece and we'll weld that one in also. So what we're doing, we stripped and epoxied the trunk lid, and we got the gap set on that one. There's that side. There's that side. So now we can continue on removing quarters in the roof so we can set them new panels on from AMD. And lastly, we have the door gap set. where we need them to be, and the body line set where it needs to be for the new quarter panel. I always set them up to the old order quarter panel before I take that panel off, that quarter panel off, and put the new one on. Okay, we threw in a little bit of bracing for the 68 Chevelle. Got to weld that one up tomorrow over there, so we can take them quarter panels off, take that roof off, because I welded this up here so the panel doesn't move in or out, because I got the doors where I want them, so where the original quarters are. So we're going to leave those right in there and start cutting some stuff off pretty soon. So we've been working on, got all our AMD parts. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to tape where I'm going to cut, just for a quick cut, so I can get all this stuff off, and just use the tape as a guideline as opposed to just freehanding it. And once that's off, we will finish trimming it out. We'll draw out these holes in here and get that little bit off. Same with the door jamb, and make sure all our panels are how we need them to be before we cut the rest of it off and get that quarter panel on. Okay, as you can see, we have it outlined where we want to cut. And the reason I'll leave this stuff here is just to make sure that all of that panel comes with the new panel. We know that this comes in there, but we're just going to make sure we can get it from the inside also afterwards. And I did cut a little bit above the roof line here. We are going to put a new roof on, because the roof goes on after the quarter panels do. So we're just going to cut this piece off here so we can set the quarter panel up in there afterwards. So it's just a quick outline to get that panel off, and then we'll go over to the other one later to see what we need to keep and what we can cut off on this one, if we have to cut anything off of this one. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, Kevin here from Harrington Classic Car Restorations, and thanks to AMD, we have this new 1968 quarter panel that we just test fit. It's just setting on there right now. Still have some moving to do. Make sure that gap gets right, that gets fit. Gonna do some trimming in there to get that to fit correctly. Make sure this piece goes under that piece. And we got some moving to do over here, because this here is supposed to go over there. It's just set on there just to see what it looks like. we actually have the other quarter panel fit onto the car. It fits pretty decent. It's a little bit wide right there. It might be able to go forward a little bit more, although it's pretty close to being right there. So I mean, it does need to go forward a little bit, but everything's starting to look pretty good. It's taking shape. And then we got to fit that wheel tub in there also, because we got that wheel tub cut out. We got that panel stuck in there. The truck drop downs in there. Just want to try and close that gap up. Quite a bit up there. Stay tuned. Once we're done welding that other side up, we'll start trimming the roof, finish welding the roof on. So we have the moldings all fit. The moldings fit great on the front and the back. So now we can start welding it up. We do have screws holding it in right now, but we're going to weld that up, and then we're going to do a patch panel over here. So we're going to take a piece of, we'll grind this, epoxy this, and then we'll make a patch for this here and weld that up solid all the way, so we don't have to do a ton of body work. And that's the next step on that whenever we get another chance. Okay, today we're back on the 68 Chevelle. We're getting rid of the drip rails, and what I do is I cut the drip rail edge off right to the point of the post here, or the structure, and then I weld from the roof to the structure, or I'll show you on the other side. Okay, this is what it looks like welded. It's a little bit dirty. That's what it looks like welded on there. And we're going to make a seam. We'll grind these out, and we're going to make a patch for this piece here. We're not going to use lead, we're not going to use fiberglass. We're going to make an all metal patch here, weld it in solid, and make it nice and smooth. And no drip rails. Okay, here's the seam filled. You start with this on the left side. Make your template, you cut out your patch, and you weld it in. I'll show you better on the other side, because we're going to do the right side here in a minute. And we got to make sure each edge, this edge is even with this edge here, and this bottom edge is even with this edge here. So there might have to be a little bit of trimming in there to get that to fit, to keep it smooth, because if it's too far over or too far under down here like this, it's just not going to be as smooth as you want it to be. We cut the curve right in there. As you can see, I have to do some trimming on it, but as we weld, we'll end up bending this edge over here to fit this. We'll weld that up, grind it, then we'll bend it over, weld that up, grind it, and then cut off the excess. So from this to that, and weld it up solid. Stay tuned for this side. And we'll do the same thing here with these. We'll grind this a little bit. We'll throw some epoxy in there, make our patch, weld it up solid. This way we don't have a bunch of fiberglass in there or lead. We wanted that to be nice and solid. A little more grinding to do on the lip here. Add a little bit of weld, a little more grinding to make that nice and smooth, so they don't have a lot of Bondo on the edge or body filler. So we'll weld this up, grind it nice and smooth.